let's get busy with the truth.
Wow, I really do prefer that intro. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the show. It's good to see you. Happy April 10th. I'm sorry, we were boycotting Roberto's Tacos, so I forgot to do the show trivia for today. I have so much to talk about. I don't know how we're going to squeeze it into the day. Let me just pick up the energy a little bit. It is April 10th. Let's find out some things that happened today in history. Welcome to the Ignition News, by the way. We are your live news source. We give you the 4 or 5 stories that you need to know about, and then we give you action items on how to take that back into your community. We're not breaking news. You know, it's not the, hey, breaking news, we're coming at you live from an airplane bathroom bullshit. It's the, here's what you need to know, here's what you do with that information, and here's how you go make the world better, and here's how you push back a little bit. So, in 1912, the RMS Titanic set sail from Southampton today. In 1925, F. Scott Fitzgerald published The Great Gatsby. It was a definitive critique of the American dream and class stratification. You know, we should really dive into The Great Gatsby. That's a great thing we should dive into. In 1998, the Good Friday Agreement was signed in Belfast. Let's see. The safety pin was patented today. It's National Sibling Day. Be sure to tell one of your siblings that you love them and congratulate them for continuing the no contact with mom and dad. It is Encourage a Young Writer Day and National Hug Your Dog Day. Kodak, I see you. It is also Joseph Pulitzer's birthday, Mandy Moore's birthday. Oh, Mandy Moore, happy birthday. Yeah. I am afraid for the calendar, friends. Its days are numbered. Okay, is that the best we could do? That's the best we could do. Got it. Welcome to the show, everybody. It's good to have you. We have 4 stories to talk about today. But first, I want to talk about what I think is growing sentiment. I keep hearing something in my head. I keep hearing this.
All you had to do was pay us enough to live. All you had to do was pay us enough to live. All you had to do was pay us enough to live. All you had to do was pay us enough to live. All you had to do was pay us enough to live.
And I keep thinking about how the American working class is being stretched and stretched and stretched and stretched and pushed to the point of exhaustion, and how so many of us are being really just pushed into oblivion. And there's so much, obviously, that we could talk about there. But you've seen examples of this. We saw this example where this Kimberly-Clark employee on Thursday allegedly started a fire that tore through the company's 1 million square foot warehouse. And I think the same thing that I keep hearing, you know, it reminds me of all of these similar incidences that would happen. Are we supposed to, are we supposed to feel bad for the toilet paper? Like, I don't understand. It's like a similar story where we're being gaslit to not understand that people are being absolutely stretched to the point of exhaustion. People are cracking. They're cracking right in front of us. And everyone is just experiencing this terrible, terrible push and push and push. We're like, you know those cheese graters that you have? Like, you get a block of cheese and you grate the cheese. It just feels like we're all just being grated against the system right now. Like, we're just being pulled and everything's being taken from us. Last night I got home, and I was, I'm going to break it down for you. Last night when I got home, I got home at like 9:30 last night. It was a long day. I had to go pick up Ben from school. Moderator Kat was not feeling well. So first of all, I'm very grateful because I haven't had a chance to pick up Ben from school in a long time. It was nice just to hang out with him in the afternoon. I obviously realized how hard she's working doing all this all the time. But then I get home, it's like 9:30 at night, and then I have to get in the banking account, Wells Fargo, and I look at I just did. And then I try to log in, and my 2-factor authentication's not working. Well, then I figure out, I'm looking at my phone, and I realize I haven't got a text message since Sunday. My text messaging has been broken since Sundays. And so I thought I was losing my mind. No wonder. Who knows who's tried to text me from then. So I get on the phone with Verizon to try to solve this problem. And I'm on the phone with them, and they cannot figure out how it is that my text messaging doesn't work. And I'm sitting here thinking to myself how absurd this is, right? First of all, and here we go, get ready to clip this. First of all, like you're obviously talking to someone who is in an offshore customer service. It was like 10 o'clock at night, right? And yeah, I have no problem with that, like in terms of a person having a job. But my first job was a customer service job, not dissimilar to that, a cell phone customer service job. I made $12 an hour back in the year 2000. If someone can do the math and help me find out, what's the adjusted, well, yeah, let's just do the math right now. Let's do the math. What is $12 in 2000 adjusted for inflation? Let's do the math. My point being, this billion-dollar company has offshored its customer service operations overseas, and that kind of job was my very first job. So all of the people entering the workforce now, that's 100,000 jobs, 200,000. It's probably closer to like 5 million jobs where people don't have that opportunity. That is, are you ready for this? Does anyone want to guess what that is adjusted for inflation? When I made $12 an hour working at a customer service job in the year 2000, does anyone want to guess what that would be right now? My figure was pretty close to that, Sandy. Mine was 2302, but we can go with either figure. So that was one of my first jobs, making what is the equivalent to $22 an hour, which even now you would have a difficult time surviving on, but just imagine that, right? So that's kind of the first takeaway, is you've offshored all of these jobs. And we all know, of course, that they're not paying those people $12 an hour. They're probably paying them much less than that, right? So the first layer of that is just the decimation of good starting jobs, entry-level jobs. And from that job, I was able to, demonstrate my proficiency. I became like a regional manager, blah, blah, blah. It was my point is that was a springboard for me to have a lot of success in my life. At a very young age, I was given the opportunity to start a job at $12 an hour and then work my way up, and that allowed me a lot of opportunity. Now, those kinds of jobs in America just don't exist anymore. They don't exist anymore. And so, anyways, I'm sitting on the phone, and at a certain point, if I'm being super honest with you, it was very late. I was just really tired of it. And I'm sitting there and I'm doing the math in my head with the Verizon people because they can't fix my cell phone. And I'm thinking to myself, so I'm looking it up while I'm talking to them on the phone. Verizon is a $200 billion company. They are a $200 billion company. You're telling me that Verizon can't fix a fucking text message? They're $200 billion. By the way, this is not the first time this has happened to me. And so finally I start having this class conversation with the people on the phone, and I'm telling them this. I'm like, this is not your fault, but this is absurd. I'm like, no, I'm not. They're like, well, we're going to rebuild your account. It's going to take 3 to 5 hours. I'm like, no, you're not. We're going to fix this right now. And the irony, of course, is it's not my job to fix my text messages. That's your job. You're Verizon. You're the $200 billion company, right? And so I break it down for these people, and I'm like, who's the CEO of Verizon? I don't have it in front of me right now. His name's also Dan, which is disappointing. We're really letting Dans down all over the world, by the way. Let's see. I don't think that's right. Verizon. Dan Schulman. There you go. Dan Schulman makes $23 million a year. Actually, probably more than that. Let's take a look at that. $200 billion company. $24 million. So I'm breaking that down for these people on the phone call, and I'm saying to them, hey, I was on the phone for 2 hours, okay? So this person if I'm being generous, the person that helped me probably made, if we're being generous, $16 for the 2 hours. Okay? The CEO of Verizon made $34,000 sleeping, by the way. He's probably sleeping on a yacht. And he made $34,000 in those 2 hours that we were on the phone, while that person made $8 an hour, if we're being generous. And these people can't do anything right. They're just vultures. All they exist to do now is take money, take money, take money. And you see this everywhere you go. Everywhere you go, it's the same thing. Every company is getting worse. You cannot tell me an example of a company that is getting better under this, as someone said, runaway capitalism. And they have learned that they've become so large. This is the point I want to make. They have learned that they have become so large that it doesn't matter anymore. You deal with a company like Uber, you have a problem, they basically tell you to fuck off. You deal with a big company, I'm not that old, and I remember when companies looked at a customer service opportunity as the potential danger of losing a customer, and then that cascading into being not viable as a business anymore. These companies have become so large that they realize that they can control the conversation. If you have a problem, good fucking luck to you. Good luck. And they have removed all of these layers of customer service. And when I think about Verizon and when I think about Dan Schulman, the CEO, the error that these people make, the mistake that these people make, Mr. Schulman, okay? How many employees does Verizon have? How many employees at Verizon? Verizon has 90,000 employees, okay? Well, Mr. Dan, the CEO of Verizon, you better get your shit together. Do you know why? Because Starlink has 10,000 satellites in orbit right now. Do you not realize that SpaceX is about to become the new Verizon, the new AT&T, the new whatever? While you're sitting there making $34,000 on your yacht for 2 hours while your company doesn't work, while your service is terrible, and it's terrible. They're all bad. You know this. Like, if something breaks, they're just basically like, well, suck it, Too bad. Sucks to be you. So while he's making his $34,000 for 2 hours for having this absolutely terrible service, guess what? The thing you don't realize is there's always now going to be a bigger billionaire. Elon Musk is going to be soon the first trillionaire. And guess what? Elon Musk alone, Mr. Schulman, could buy your company over and over and over again, and it wouldn't even faze him. And do not mistake me. Elon Musk is not a good person. But let us look at why I keep talking about this and why we're all fucked. Because if you look at Starlink with their 10,000 satellites in orbit, ignoring, of course, the fact that they're polluting outer space, Starlink operates largely on a zero employee model. Obviously, they have employees. But compared to Verizon's 90,000 employees, Starlink is able to do what they do with a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of employees. They have largely automated their customer service. Their customer service is capable through AI of handling things like billing problems, service cancellations, all these things. When you want to cancel your Starlink, you just type an AI chatbot and it cancels your service. They don't do the whole like, oh, what can we do to keep you happy bullshit that these cell phone companies do? Because guess what? They don't have to hire 90,000 people. They have to hire 100 people. That's how rampant the damage to the working class is going to be. And people like Mr. Schulman don't seem to understand that it is the working class people that pay their cell phone bills and pay for toilet paper and pay for all of these things. They don't see what's in front of them, or perhaps alternatively, enough of them have amassed enough wealth and they are escaping the permanent underclass that they're just kind of waiting it out. There's always going to be a bigger billionaire. And that's what they don't understand. And this is where we find ourselves. 10,000 Starlink satellites in orbit, operating a customer service operation on probably about 100 or 200 people. Because a billionaire like Elon Musk, he says, I don't really care if a few people, if their Starlink doesn't work and they get angry and they cancel service. There's 50 more people to replace them, and I only need to make sure that 3 of those people have a good experience to replace the 2 of you that left. And guess what? When I crush the cell phone companies and Verizon can't afford to operate and AT&T can't afford to operate and Mint Mobile can't afford to operate, guess what? I'm going to be the only fucking game in town. So suck it. Talk to the AI chatbot. See you later. By the way, I have so much money that I can control every political conversation possible. So welcome to the Ignition News. I would ask you a quick thing. Please do follow the show on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or your favorite podcast platform. We do distribute the show out on 17 platforms total through the podcast network. I really don't want to talk about why we have to use Spotify because I'm tired of it. So if you have a problem with me using Spotify and you're taking the time to tell me that from your Google phone or your Apple phone, I would just remind you, you got to be where the fight is. And the fight right now is on Spotify. It's the easiest, best way to host the platform. But if you don't want to use Spotify, that's fine. I take the podcast, we take it on Spotify, and we distribute it out like Halloween candy at a parade for you to find. All you got to do is raise your hand, click that follow button, and do leave a comment. I do appreciate it when people leave a comment. Let's get to the stories. My rant was wild, so we'll get into it today. So why do we talk about this? Well, let me first tell you a story that I think you need to know about. It's about Reddit, actually. So first story on Ignition News today. A Reddit user posted a call to protest at an ICE facility in RGV in Texas. They didn't issue any threats. They didn't have any threats of violence. The intelligence bulletin that Homeland Security produced after monitoring that post explicitly said there was, quote, no specific reporting of planned violence. In other words, DHS looked at that post, they analyzed it, and they said, oh, this is not a violent thing. But what they did do is they implemented a massive surveillance network. And the surveillance did not just stop with going to the protest, monitoring the people at the protest. When ICE tried to unmask the user through an administrative subpoena, the court shut it down. So the federal government escalated this Reddit post to a grand jury. According to a subpoena obtained by The Intercept, Reddit has until April 14th to hand over a wide variety of personal data on this particular user. Reddit has said publicly that it does not voluntarily share information with the government, especially not on users exercising their right to criticize the government. So Google, Meta, and Reddit have all received hundreds of these administrative subpoenas, and some of them are cooperating. You might want to check your email, by the way, if you're posting about protests or you're talking about ICE, because Gmail in particular, Google in particular, is just rolling over for these administrative subpoenas. But think about that for a moment. A person plans a peaceful protest. Wow, that was a lot of alliteration. Good job. Person plans a peaceful protest. It's monitored probably automatically by Palantir. Reddit has this post, and then they go to Reddit and they say, we want all the information about this person. This actually happened in Las Vegas, by the way. There's a Las Vegas group. It's like Vegas Strikes is the name of the subreddit. And the users of that group were issued administrative subpoenas by Las Vegas Metro Police. Pretty wild stuff. So now they've moved this to a federal grand jury. The attorneys for this Reddit user say that they are squarely protected by the First Amendment. But I guess we will see. Let's get on to story number 2. It is about inflation. The March inflation numbers dropped this morning, and they are not pretty. Here's what we got. Consumer prices rose 3.3% year over year. It's up 2.4% in February. That's the highest annual the highest annual inflation rate since May of 2024. Obviously, the main thing driving this is the price of gasoline. The energy index surged 11% in March. Inflation-adjusted numbers for wages make it actually much worse. Hourly earnings increased 2% last month. After inflation, that means real wages actually fell by 0.6%. One economist put it this way: inflation is almost eating up the entirety of Americans' wage gains, and by April or May, it will exceed them. So in other words, inflation is now lapping wage increases, which does not surprise anyone. That's kind of where we started the show this morning. This is obviously the cost of this conflict in Iran. We're paying at the pump, we're paying at the grocery stores, and now our wages are literally going backwards. You probably also saw yesterday, Thursday, April 9th, Melania Trump decided to come out and do some kind of weird speech about how she didn't know Epstein, about how she was not a victim, about how she met her husband, and how she was no way related to. Totally normal speech. Totally normal, not suspicious at all, not weird at all, totally, not at all something to pay attention to. Well, I think I know why she did that. I think I know why Melania Trump went out on cameras, and that is because of a man named Amanda Ungaro. She was on Epstein's plane at 16 years old, and that's from flight logs that we found from the Department of Justice. She shares a son with Paolo Zampolini, the modeling agent who introduced Melania Trump to Donald Trump, and who this administration has now rewarded with a seat on the Kennedy Center board with Pam Bondi. Let me back up there. This woman, Amanda Ungaro, has a son with Paolo Zampolini, who is the agent that introduced Melania to Donald Trump. it gets worse. In June of 2025, Amanda was arrested in Miami on charges her attorneys describe as manufactured. The only piece of physical evidence shared with her legal team to prove why she was arrested was her hand touching an FDA-approved laser machine. I don't know what that's about. Not using it or touching it, she just apparently just had her hands on a laser, and that's why they arrested her. She was actually held in an ICE facility in Miami for 3.5 months with no bail, and then she was deported. Amanda says she has photos documenting physical abuse at the hands of Zampolini. She says she has evidence of insurance fraud, bribery of government and public officials. She says that the arrest came shortly after she filed for custody of her son and that a legal action would have required Zampolini to pay back child support. The connections here are not subtle at all. The lead detective on her case was personally honored with an Attorney General's Award by Pam Bondi. Bondi and Zampolini, even though Bondi was fired, continued to serve together on the board at the Kennedy Center. Jay Clayton, the SDNY U.S. attorney whom Bondi appointed to handle the Epstein files released, is also aware of the situation. So you have a woman who witnessed Jeffrey Epstein's operation, who had documentation and a history of work for the United Nations, who was deported without a trial. She was literally separated from her child and silenced before she could talk in court. And she was married. She shares a son with the man who introduced Melania to Trump. Interesting. Welcome to the Ignition News. And with all of this, I think we have to ask ourselves the question. I know you've heard stories about MAGA influencers coming out and being against the president, against this administration. The America First Coalition, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Tucker Carlson, all these people. The Republican Party and MAGA writ large are not going to move away from this president. It's not going to happen. Even as they can see the midterms, they can see the disastrous polling, they can see what's ahead of them, they can see the Epstein files, they can see all this chaos, all this damage, the president sending out all of these crazy, crazy tweets. That coalition, that hardcore 33% base, if you think they're moving, we actually, before the show, we were talking about this today. That 33% base, we can't afford to spend any more time on. Now, there are a lot of people who don't, quote unquote, don't consider themselves political. There are a lot of people who I would say voted for this president out of a sense of like, the system is working against me, so I want to punish the system. That actually happened, I think, every time that he's been on the ballot. I think that same person who's not necessarily identified as MAGA, the same person who voted for that, but maybe also voted for AOC or maybe also voted for Mamdani, those are the people we need to find. Those are the people we need to engage. Those are the coalitions that we need to build. And it goes right back to where we started. And why I say we can't waste our time on these people anymore. The people who are locked in, who see the Epstein files, who see the war in Iran, and they're not moving, they will pay whatever price they have to pay for loyalty. No matter how hard it gets, no matter how disastrous it is. But 33% is not 67%. We are being graded against the grader like cheese. We're just, I don't know, I feel it. I feel every day, I feel that just grating noise. I just feel it. We have to start building on these coalitions, and we have to start pushing back. When you see these people at their breaking points, I think the reason that people look at that they expect us to look at something like that and they expect us to say, oh my God, the poor company. Oh my God. But everybody's broken right now. Everybody has been pushed so much. It's like that Bug's Life. Everyone always talks about the grasshoppers, you know? Power protects itself. It criminalizes dissenting voices. It hides witnesses. And then it tells you to be thankful for the disruption. Well, it's Friday, April 10th, 2026. I am, 4 minus 10, 6, 2, 6. There's always a fun number in there. We have to start building these coalitions and using them because we don't have much time. AI is coming. Climate change is obviously here. It's getting more expensive, more difficult just to survive. We have to start looking around. We have to start throwing out the life rafts to each other. That's the show, everybody. Have a great day. Whew, that was a long-ass show. And done.